Hello there, World of Tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, the World of Blitz, and in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the BZ-58-2. This is a Tier 9 Chinese collector heavy tank, a vehicle that is very similar to the 50TP, which is a Polish tech tree heavy. In today's video, we are not only going to be taking a look at the BZ-58-2 statistics, how it plays on the battlefield, and its armor profile, but I will also be comparing it to the tech tree counterpart and letting you know my personal opinions on whether I think this is a good heavy or a rather mediocre one. And I should point out this isn't the only clone we have. There's also the regressor, once again an almost carbon copy of the 50TP. So this is actually the third 50TP that we currently basically have sitting in the game, which is kind of goofy. But if it's a fun tank and it earns credits, then I can't get all too mad. So we're going to start off by taking a look at the statistics of this vehicle compared to the tech tree. DPM-wise, very similar. And I should mention that when it comes to our loadouts, they are both running the exact same thing we can see here. When it comes to our provisions, though, a little bit different. We are running double food and fuel on our BZ-58-2. It also features gunpowder, but I don't really see the point in that. And then for our 50TP, we are running double fuel, so we got gear oil and fuel, and then we also have a large food. Personally, I feel it is more important to run double fuel on the 50TP just for that improved acceleration. So DPM wise, we can see that both tanks are pretty similar, only a 50 difference. It's not enough to really make a noticeable difference, and we can see that here. The reloads are almost the same for only a 10 alpha difference. So we're just gonna say the guns are the same in terms of the damage per minute and damage output for what it is. Penetration-wise, it's both 268 and 270, so again, basically the same. And loading gold, I don't know why it's dragging me up, but loading gold, as we can see, the pen is a little bit better for the BZ-58-2, sitting at 326 mils versus the 318. And the alpha damage only becomes a 5 difference, 385 versus 390. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it is something I figured I should still mention. Module damage is the same, the calibers are all obviously the same, everything like that is pretty similar. Now shell velocity, aiming time, and dispersion, this is where we come to some differences. Shell velocity is 50 better for the BZ-58-2. It's not a huge difference, but it is still a slight advantage. Aiming time is actually a decent amount better, about 0.2 seconds, which could make a difference. And the dispersion is honestly the same. You have to remember I took off a small food, so because of that, it's basically the same dispersion. Same for on move, we can see very similar. However, it is better for the BZ-58-2, and definitely dispersion on turret traverse is way better for the Chinese heavy. So definitely in the gun handling department, we have a big advantage for the BZ, and that's definitely going to be quite nice. Shooting damage and all this is the exact same. Gun depression angles as well. The BZ-58-2 is 9 degrees rather than 8, so another big advantage. So far, we are definitely having advantages for the BZ, but there are some big advantages for the 50TP I should mention. First of all, with gear oil, the vehicle can reverse at 19 versus the 15 that the 52 can. When it comes to top speed, though, they are both the exact same. Power to weight, we can also see quite a big difference. The BZ-52 is about 3 less effective power to weight. That's a lot. That's going to be about maybe a 20% acceleration difference between the two vehicles, and it's still a big difference on hard terrain as well. However, soft terrain is almost the same, and that's because the 50TP has rather poor traverse and overall mobility on soft terrain, but it's still faster than the 52. Turret traverse is way faster for the 50TP Proto, and when it comes to traverse speed on hard terrain, it's a slight advantage, but we can see it's actually worse on soft terrain. Not that you'll be in water all too often, but still something I should mention. The fire chance, ironically, on the Chinese vehicle is lower, which is rather interesting, and it also has 4 meters more view range. However, I don't think that's going to be too much of a big advantage, judging that your camo values are slightly worse. Overall, these are the base statistics of the BZ-52, and we can see for the most part they are slightly better than the tech tree variants. But that brings us to one final thing we should compare, and that is the armor. How does the armor on the BZ-52 compare to the armor on the 50TP? Well, let's start off with the turret. We can see that it does have 2 big hatches, which are only about 150-ish millimeters thick. But if you're using the 9 degrees of gun depression, those hatches no longer exist. So how is the armor on the turret? Well, it's actually quite strong. It's just as strong as the 50 TPs. Unless you hit this tiny little bar here, you're basically not going to be penetrating this turret anywhere. And when you pair that with the 9 degrees of gun depression this vehicle has, it's going to make it rather strong in any hull down position, which is quite good. The upper plate, as we can see, is also very, very well angled, and even if you do have heat, you're going to need upwards of 380 millimeters to cut through. So armor-wise, this tank is quite nice, but there's a weak spot, and the moment I mention it, you're going to be like, oh, that's a pretty big weak spot. Notice this. Yeah. Well, it turns out the roof of this vehicle only has a 30 millimeter plate. And I don't know why. I don't know why Wargaming did that. Because, sure, when you're hauled down, it's very hard to see that. But on flat ground, especially if you face hug, you can shoot that plate. The only way to really hide it that I've seen is just sticking your entire gun up like this while you're on reload. But it's still rather annoying that there is a plate on this vehicle that, if it gets shot, will be always overmatched. Any tier 10 will overmatch it. That's a problem. If you have a 183 that whips a shell at you and you get unlucky and it hits you in the roof, maybe somebody's trying to hit your hatch and the shell goes a little low and it hits this bar here, well, it's going to pen every single time. That's a serious problem. And it's definitely going to take away this vehicle's effective capabilities against players that know what they're doing, or just by sheer luck. Again, if you're shooting at this hatch and you miss and it just hits the entire roof, you're going to pen every time. The Tech Tree 50 TP does not have this as a problem. The Tech Trees has no weak spot on the roof apart from the hatches, and even the hatches on the Tech Tree are way stronger. That is a serious problem for the BZ. I really wish Wargaming didn't leave that there, but unfortunately it is a weak spot, and it's something that might cause you to have a very unenjoyable experience in some games. Now, when it comes to consumables, this vehicle does feature improved engine power boost, but when we compare that to the fact that this vehicle gets tungsten in general, I don't know. I mean, I like that this tank has better gun handling characteristics, and I like that it seems to be a much more flexible variant, but you do have to keep in mind that with tungsten, this tank is going to be quite strong. And with the better turret armor as well, it is going to allow this vehicle to be a bit better in that situation. The Tech Tree 50 TP is honestly one of the strongest tier 9s in the game, and it's an absolutely incredible vehicle. And I'm very interested to see how this plays. So let's get into queue and get into some gameplay. But what I will tell you is don't be bummed out if you can't get this tank, because as I showcase, it's pretty comparable to the Tech Tree, and in most cases you're still going to do better in the Tech Tree, judging that it does feature tungsten, judging that it does reverse faster, and it does have turret armor, which is a big advantage. I mean, sure, the vehicle might not have as good gun handling, but the values were pretty dang close, as you saw. I would say the big advantage of this tank is the fact that it has more gun depression and the fact that it has more penetration. That pen is going to allow you to deal with opponents a bit easier. I also really like the camo for this vehicle. I really wish Wargaming would make more camos that were somewhat realistic. I mean, I like the cool camos as well, but I feel like Wargaming doesn't put enough realistic camos in the game. So what do we have up against us? A BZ-58, an AMX-5120, and a K2 for heavies. Okay, well, we have our super speed boost activated, which is allowing us to obviously accelerate up to a pretty good 44 kilometers per hour, and we are going to make it right to this crossing here. This spot's very good to detect any heavies, and there you go, we got a K2 already spotted in the crossing. Huh. We must have shot another tank, because if we didn't, then we just had a ghost shell. Man, did we get really unlucky and just not end up penning that Death Star? That sucks. Well, oh well. I mean, we're just going to move up at this point. We're going to see if we can get some shells into the enemies over here. We got the Death Star poking, and we are going to clear that player, or not. Our 450 Alpha is going to roll 372. Well, that sucks. I mean, that's just bad luck, right? Let's reload again. We got 4 seconds left on our reload. We have the Progetto, but unfortunately, we just aren't tall enough to see that player. However, we can just poke this, and there you go. I guess that made up for our previous bad roll. Ooh, we got a tank on our rear as well. That's going to be a problem. The good news is it doesn't seem like it's that big of an issue because we can just move up a little bit. And actually, what I'm thinking of doing right now is I'm going to sneakily make my way up this hill. First of all, we might be able to get a shell into the K2's lower plate, so let's try that. There you go, nice 454. But what I was going to say is we can just move up over here, and we should be able to work this position, which is quite nice. Let's see. Let's aim it on the K2 very, very briefly, and nice little juicer. You'll also see that if you angle the hull out properly, you can actually get some good bounces with it. And that's exactly what we've been doing here. It's been working pretty effective so far. So I'm hoping that we can just kind of side scrape off of this. Yeah, definitely. Let's load a premium shell in and get that player cleared. This is where the 50 TP and the BZ-58-2 both feel really, really strong, is when you're able to use this great turret armor to not only bonk your opponents, but as well get some really, really nice bounces. Now, we are tracked, and there's not much I can do about that, but we were able to back up before the Death Star was able to get that final shell out. We're going to reload again, and in just a moment, we should have another shell ready for the AMX. I'm just going to wait for his, yeah, I was going to say, I'll just wait for his reactive to wear off. Reactive really doesn't have that long of an ability, and if you just wait a little bit, you'll always be able to get it back, so that's what we did. We can see the enemy BZ-58 is trying to aim it on my teammate. We're just going to poke this ever so slightly, and there you go. Nice 483 shot into his vehicle. Just like that, we're already up to a pretty solid amount of damage, 3,400. We're just going to make our way on up here. Again, we can see that mobility-wise, this tank is actually surprisingly fast. Let's just get the shell into the Pantera. And yeah, with that super speed boost, the acceleration is really nice. That's one thing you do have to keep in mind is, while this tank may be a little slower on its base power to weight, because the other vehicle can run gear oil, at the end of the day, this tank does have the advantage of just being faster with that super speed boost. But it's a temporary boost and not a permanent boost, which is something to keep in mind. But it does give you certain advantages. Super speed gives you an 8 km/h reverse buff. And what that means is that you can get out of a situation faster when you activate your super speed than you can even with the 19 base reverse on a vehicle like the 50 TP. But hey, 4,000 damage, 2,280 blocked, and a very solid first game for the vehicle. Really a fantastic showcase of where this tank feels very capable. When you have 9 degrees of gun depression, and you have a strong turret, and you have a high alpha with decent penetration, you're really not going to have to worry too much about anything, really. That's what I personally am liking a lot about this tank. As I said, the roof is a weak spot, but I don't think many people are going to actually shoot at the roof of this vehicle, especially if you drive it hull down. At the end of the day, this is a hull down vehicle. So if you know what you're doing, you should be more than fine. So we are going to make our way over towards the medium flank. We're going to activate our super speed. I just think that going towards medium flank is the smartest decision here. We got our super speed activated again, and we can see that we are getting up to speed, 38 km/h. I wish they didn't nerf the speed boost. I think that was a bit disappointing, but at least we are still getting up there. There we go, 44 km/h. Not bad. I just like the fact that speed boost brings you up to your top speed, which means you can chill there for the rest of the game. We have a T-92E1 who makes his way up top, and well, as much as I'd love to shoot the T-92, I don't have the... Oh, wait a sec. Oh, but there you go. A great example. Look at that. He went through my roof. I mean, he didn't even shoot my hatch, just right through the roof. And that's the problem with this vehicle. Like, the roof is a serious weak spot, and it shouldn't be. And that does get me quite mad, because we lost a lot of health there when we really shouldn't have. So we know that an enemy vehicle is probably sitting in that back spot. Yeah, crazy. Look at that. Right through the roof once again. Wow, and there it is. I explained it too. I mean, we did a great job showcasing that on the armor profile, and just like that, bippity boppity boop, it's a problem. So we got the Lorraine, and I'm hoping that if the Lorraine keeps moving up, maybe we can get a shell out. I know that they have an ISU as well sitting back there, so we're going to take another blind shot very, very quickly. But we've already bled 1,100 of our health, because 2 of the shots that penned us went right through what should be a heavily armored plate. But I don't know. I told you that's a serious problem. I don't know why Wargaming thought that was a good idea to put onto the vehicle. And we get a nice shell into the Tiger. We back up before he has the opportunity to shoot me. That's where the super speed is quite nice. T-92 is above us. We're going to put on our adrenaline here, and we'll see if we can get out any more damage. Let's see. And there you go. Another nice shot. We back up. Tiger 2's not able to pen us. Quite good. We've already taken off half of that Tiger 2. And now we're going to move up a bit. We'll see if we can get out any more shells. Let's see. We also got that Yag Tiger. And the Yag Tiger is a big threat, so I'm going to shoot him. There you go. Nice 422. All right, we're doing all right. We're getting out shells, and we are going to win this, so there is that as well to keep in mind. With the 9 degrees of gun depression, we are plenty flexible to get shots out, and there you go. I mean, when people aren't shooting at your hatch, the armor's great, but when people are, it sucks. So it's definitely a hit or miss in that type of situation there. Got the Yag Tiger on our side again, and I'm really, really hoping that we can just overpoke the Yag Tiger like so. He exposes his upper plate at an angle, and we're able to pen him, which is pretty good. I have a bad feeling about the T-92E1, I'm going to be honest. I have a feeling he's going to try and rush. Not yet. Not yet, at least. But we still have teammates over here. We're going to aim it on the lower plate of that player. We get the nice clear into him. And as scary as the 92E1 is, I am personally not too worried about him. We've dealt already 4,000 damage, and a pretty solid result in general. The 92 is going to run away. But we are going to ever so slowly make our way up this hill. We're going to activate our super speed as well. Let's see where that 92E1 tries to go. I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to get away from us. Let's be real here. I think he's going to try and run over this way. And we're just going to wait right here, possibly. Come on, 92. Where are you going to go? Interesting. As I said, I'm not too worried about him, because we're in a pretty good spot here, but he definitely managed to get further than I thought he would. We still have a pretty healthy tier 8, and even though that tier 8 might not be the biggest of help, he's still healthy, which means we can use him as HP. Well, there's the Tiger, and I'm going to try and not get penned by the Tiger. There you go. Beautiful. And then we're going to just push into base C at this point. Hopefully the 92 is not sitting across. He's not? Okay, beautiful. That's really good. We're just going to capture the bases and we'll win this game. Whether or not this T-92 wants to fight me, I'm just going to cap these bases and we're going to win. So it's pretty simple stuff. We can see that the T-92E1 is capturing base A, and because of that, he thinks we're probably going to leave. And just like I watched on comp yesterday, the smartest way to deal with a situation like this is just to wait. I know for a fact that that 92 thinks he's going to be able to make his way over to base C, and he's going to try and cap the base that we've already capped, is what he's going to do. I'm just trying to put my tank in a position where that 92E1 cannot spot me, where we should be able to easily detect him if he moves into the base. So I think this here is the perfect position for that. We're going to wait, and I think eventually we are going to see him step into base C, so let's find out. And there it is. Long live the T-92E1. As I said, he was going to make it to base C. There's no way he wasn't. So if we just waited, we were always going to catch him off guard and kill him. I don't know if he thought we weren't looking at him or whatnot, but clearly we were, and we were able to slam that shell right into his vehicle. We did a nice 4,200 damage, finished top on the team, and overall, a pretty solid result. I think that these two battles actually showcase really where the tank's going to be really good and where it's going to be bad. Because we got penned in the roof. 2 shots. Right on that 30mm plate I was talking about. I mean, that's a problem. It's a serious problem. And I don't know why Wargaming put that weak spot there. It takes away a lot of the vehicle's armor, which is very annoying because the Tech Tree 50 TP doesn't have this as a problem. So, a little bit frustrating. The tank itself, I like. The hull down capabilities are great, the DPM is alright, and it's got good penetration. I really like the super speed boost, it helped us there. In general, though, I'd say the 50 TP on the Tech Tree is better because it doesn't have to worry about the weak spot on the top of the turret. Because the turret in general has a better armor, the hatches are harder to hit. It's only a 1 degree of gun depression difference. And sure, you might have a little bit less pen, but it's still 318 mils, which is pretty decent. When you pair that together with this tank also featuring tungsten and gear oil, I think the Tech Tree's still better. I don't think this is a bad tank, and I do think it's actually rather enjoyable to play. But I just wish that they had given this vehicle a bit stronger of a turret, and maybe a different characteristic in terms of the gun. Why not give it 490 alpha, and maybe a longer reload or something? Why not give it 400 alpha and higher DPM? It's just so close to the 50 TP that I don't see much of a reason to really stress about it. But I guess that's good as well. The nice thing is it's not an overpowered tank, and it's not a bad tank. It's a quite well-balanced vehicle, which is rather fun to play. So if you get it, hopefully enjoy it, and if you don't, then nothing to sweat about. Hopefully enjoy today's video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!